Water, earth, fire, air. These are the core elements in the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Today we'll be doing a brief overview of the 4 main bending elements as well as their subcategories. Let's get to it. First up, let's talk about water.
Oh, sorry. Did I splash you, mud slug?
Waterbending is derived from Tai Chi, and its benders are often found in the northern and southern water tribes, although there have been waterbenders found in places like bayous. Shout out to our swamp boys. The first waterbender was the moon rather than an animal like the other elements, and the elemental opposite of water is fire. Water is often depicted as the element of change or ebb and flow. The element is extremely versatile and its season equivalent is winter. Some waterbending techniques include the water whip, where waterbenders turn the water into a whip, ice spear, where the water can be turned into ice-like daggers. Katara used this technique when she attacked the man who killed her mother. And water cloak, where a waterbender cloaks themselves in water, which creates a protective armor around them. They can then use their water arms to grab enemies, blast enemies with water, and even freeze them. Some waterbenders have been taking bending a step further by manipulating the water inside of something. For instance, our swamp boy Hugh manipulated the waters in the vines to make a swamp monster that he controlled. And since we're talking about water being controlled inside something, let's talk about arguably the coolest and scariest use of this method, bloodbending. Bloodbending and the techniques we are going to talk about from this moment on are known as special bending techniques. Special bending techniques are sub-skills that exist within each of the bending forms. Being able to utilize any of these sub-skills requires incredible mastery of the base element, in our case, water. Bloodbending is a specialized rare variant of waterbending that allows the waterbender to manipulate the water inside an organism's body and then allow the user to force the person's muscles to move against their will. The technique was created by Hama while she was being held in a Fire Nation prison. She first experimented with controlling elephant rats and then moved on to human rats, also known as Fire Nation soldiers. Eventually, Hama taught this dark art to the reluctant Katara. Because of the complexity of the bending form, it can only be done during a full moon when a waterbender is at its strongest. Only Takone, Amon, and Tarlok have been shown to be able to utilize bloodbending without a full moon needing to be present. Yakone and Amon were even capable of using blood bending without using their arms, which is known as psychic bending. Another specialized bending skill, though not as rare as bloodbending, is healing, in which waterbenders draw on the life-giving properties of water to heal wounds and illnesses. Healing was traditionally seen as a woman's practice, but Katara rejected the concept when she fought Master Pakku. Katara is a constant inspiration, and I just think she's so amazing, and guys, I'm gonna start tear bending. Lastly is spirit bending, which is an extension of the healing technique, which allows the users to assert their balance or imbalance within a spirit. An example of this is when Unalaq created a water circle around a dark spirit and changed its negative energy to positive energy. Man, I'd love for someone to do that for me. 2020 has been a wild year. Next up is earthbending, the element of the self-proclaimed best earthbender in the world, Toph Bay Fong.
Good morning, earthbending student.
Earthbending is derived from Hongai Kung Fu, and the first benders were badger moles who, funny enough, are also blind and powerful like Toph. Earth's opposite element is air, and the people of the Earth Kingdom are very proud and strong. Earth, like water, requires raw materials in order to bend. Some earthbending techniques include earthstone levitation, where an earthbender quite literally lifts a rock, boulder, or any other form of rock. Earth gauntlet, where an earthbender covers their arm in a protective layer of rock so they can use that to attack with great force. And quicksand, where an earthbender can turn a plot of land into quicksand. Let's go through some special bending techniques. We will start with some techniques that were coined by the greatest earthbender in the world. Yes, that's how I'm going to refer to Toph. That's how she addresses herself, so it's only polite. Metal bending is the art of manipulating the particles of unpurified earth within a given material, giving the user the ability to bend processed metals. This ability was discovered by the greatest earthbender in the world when 2 lesser earthbenders, Ji-Fu and Master Yu, attempted to transport her back home by putting her in a metal cage. She used seismic sense, a bending style we'll get to, don't worry, to sense trace amounts of earth present in metal, and she used that to bend the metal. After the war ended, instead of attempting to be the best mom in the world, she decided to open the Beifong Metal Bending Academy to share her metal bending skills with the world and eventually establish the Metal Bending Police Force. Next up is lava bending, which is an incredibly rare technique that involves bending molten rock. There have been a few people able to use this technique. Avatar Kyoshi and Roku have been seen using it, and in Legend of Korra, Gazan and Bolin have used it as well. Another special bending technique coined by the greatest earthbender in the world is seismic sense. Seismic sense is the ability to perceive an environment by feeling vibrations from the ground. It has the similar effect of sonar or echolocation. This technique is derived from badger moles who are blind and have to use this technique in order to see. This technique was then picked up by the greatest earthbender in the world, and the rest was history. This is often not mentioned, but I'm going to throw sandbending into this listing. Sandbending is used by sandbenders, shocking, I know, and it involves manipulating the sand, which is just crushed up rocks, in order to attack and propel sand gliders. On to my favorite element, fire. The original firebenders are the dragons, and the fighting style is derived from the northern Shaolin Kung Fu. Firebending is an incredibly powerful element. It doesn't need any raw material to work and corresponds with the power of the sun. Its seasonal equivalent is the summer. Its opposite element is water. Some firebending techniques are fire daggers, where the firebender creates fire-like daggers for close-range combat, jet propulsion, where a firebender can use the fire to propel them into the air to temporarily fly or float, and fire augmentation, where a firebender can draw on any open flame such as a candle or a torch and use it as they please for a powerful attack. Now on to some special bending techniques. Combustion bending is a form of telekinetic firebending. It consists of the ability to channel chi through the forehead and whatever, you shoot explosions from your face hole. It's insane. It was first seen done by Sparky Boom Man, I refuse to call him anything else, and it was mind-blowing to watch. See what I did there? Saga would be proud. This technique is incredibly powerful, as Sparky Boom Man was able to destroy countless buildings and structures with one blast. As it stands, we've only seen two characters who have this power, Sparky Boom Man in Avatar, and P. Lee in Legend of Korra. So lightning generation is a sub-skill of firebending that allows a firebender to create and guide a bolt of lightning. It's an especially tough technique because it requires the complete absence of emotion and a clear mind. Lightning takes a lot to build up due to its complexity. Before the 100-Year War ended, there were only 3 firebenders who could use this ability, Azula, Ozai, and Iroh, but with the creation of Republic City, it became a working-class job where lightning benders would use this to power things. Lightning redirection is exactly what it sounds like, the redirection of lightning. The user absorbs the lightning into their body as energy and then releases it out their fingertips to wherever they want. This technique was created by Iroh, who learned it by studying waterbenders redirect force rather than opposing it head-on. This technique is very powerful, but also very dangerous because if the lightning passes through the heart, then the effects could be fatal. Before the war ended, only Iroh, Zuko, and Aang had been seen lightning redirecting, but in Legend of Korra, Mako used lightning redirection while battling a mecha tank. There are a lot of fans that say heat bending is a substyle of firebending, but it's not canon, but I figured I'd throw it in. Essentially, it lets you control other elements through the heat around it. Again, this isn't canon, but a lot of fans requested it, so there you go. Airbending is based on Baga Zhang, and the first benders were air bison. As we know, Aang is the last airbenders because the air nomads were wiped out by the Fire Nation. Airbenders are known for their speed and defensive capabilities. Their styling is an emphasis on freedom, and their elemental opposite is rock. Air can be utilized in many different ways, like the air bomb, which is created from the mouth and lungs and creates a huge gust of wind that knocks an enemy back. The air scooter, a technique invented by Aang to ride around on, and enhance speed and agility, where an airbender can move incredibly fast. Now time for specialized bending techniques. So there are a few benders that have mastered the ability to fly without the use of a glider. This ability is called weightlessness, and it is an extremely rare skill. It is only seen done by Guru Lahima and Zahir. This rare and awesome power is achievable through a complete denouncement of all earthly desires, which Zahir could only achieve after watching his girlfriend die. And lastly, we have spiritual projection. This technique, as the name implies, requires an incredible sense of spirituality. The process allows a person's spirit to move from the physical realm into an intangible form, unbound by its physical body. Wild stuff. In order to create a safe projection, a user must be in a silent environment free from distractions because projections require intense focus. These spiritual projections can also be used to locate specific individuals by focusing on a specific bond the user has with an individual they are looking for. As of right now, Janora is the only one who can use this technique. Spiritual projections are also more powerful during harmonic convergence. When projections are used during this time, the projections can be maintained for a longer period of time. One quick mention is energy bending. Energy bending is not derived from any one bending art, so it didn't fit into any of the categories. It doesn't like labels. Back in the day, before the days of bending, lion turtles bent the energy into humans to grant them the ability of one of the 4 elements. Eventually, the lion turtles denounced their role to protect mankind until only one turtle had the ability to energy bend. That lion turtle then gave Aang the ability to energy bend, which he used to remove Phoenix King Ozai's firebending and Yakon's ability to waterbend. After Amon took Korra's bending away, the spirit of Aang used energy bending to restore her ability to bend all the elements. Korra then used this ability to give Lin Beifong her bending back. There you have it, a basic rundown of the 4 main types of bending in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and their subtypes. Would you be interested in a more in-depth look at the specialized bending techniques, or any other Avatar topics? Let us know in the comments.